أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome. Today we're going to dive into one of the most profound stories in the Quran. It's a journey from the chapter of the cave, Sūrah al-Kahf, and it really challenges our whole idea of what it means to know.
What an incredible thought, right? Knowledge itself can become a veil. This isn't a story about being ignorant versus being learned. No, it's about that moment when our own certainty has to bow to mystery, when even a great prophet is taught not some new piece of information, but a much, much deeper kind of humility. So let's begin this journey together.
So our story kicks off with the prophet Moses, and he is on a very determined quest. He's looking for a specific kind of wisdom, a kind that you just can't find in books. It requires a journey that goes way beyond the physical world. Now listen to the way he says that, the meeting point of the two seas. This is so significant. This isn't just a spot on a map. It's a symbolic place. It's that threshold where two completely different oceans of perception meet. The world we can see and the world we can't. That vow alone just shows you the incredible spiritual effort he was willing to make. So, when Moses finally gets there, he finds this mysterious teacher, known in our tradition as Khidr. And this teacher has something truly unique, a special kind of insight called ilm laduni. This is a wisdom that flows directly from the divine presence itself. It's not earned through study, it's gifted.
So naturally, Moses asks to be his student, and the teacher agrees. But there's a catch. There's one single non-negotiable condition. Moses has to have complete and steady patience, sabr. He must promise not to ask a single question about anything he witnesses until the teacher himself decides it's time to explain. That's the price of admission right there.
And with that agreement made, their journey begins. What happens next are three profound and honestly deeply unsettling tests of Moses' promise. Tests that are going to challenge absolutely everything he thinks he knows about right and wrong. Okay, so for the first test, they get on a boat with some poor fishermen. And then, out of nowhere, the teacher just damages their boat. He tears a hole in their only way of making a living. I mean, from any normal perspective, this is just a senseless act of vandalism against people who are already struggling. And Moses, being a prophet of justice, just can't stay quiet. His entire sense of what is right is being violated. He completely forgets his promise and blurts this out, just filled with a righteous and totally understandable shock. The teacher gently reminds him of their agreement, and they move on. But then, they come across a young boy who looks completely pure and innocent, and the teacher does the unthinkable. He takes the boy's life. From Moses' viewpoint, this is just the cold-blooded murder of an innocent child. And again, Moses is just overwhelmed. This act goes against every law he knows, both human and divine. The Quran uses a word here, nukran, which means something horrifying, utterly unacceptable. He protests with even more force this time. After a second reminder, they keep going. They arrive at a town where the people are just awful to them. They refuse them basic hospitality, no food, no water, nothing. But then, the teacher sees a wall that's about to fall down, and without anyone asking, he just fixes it. It's a completely selfless act for a community that was totally undeserving. This time, Moses' objection is a little different. It's not so much moral outrage. It's more about simple logic, like, why would you work for free for people who were so unkind to us? But this third question, this final interruption, it breaks the condition of their journey together. It's over. The teacher turns to him and says, "This is the parting between me and you." But before they go their separate ways, he promises to give him the ta'wil, the deeper hidden interpretation of the actions that Moses just could not be patient with. First up, the damaged boat. The zahir, or the apparent harm, was a broken ship. But the batin, the hidden mercy, was this. There was a tyrannical king just ahead who was seizing every perfect working ship by force. So that small, visible flaw actually saved those poor fishermen from losing everything. Now, this is the hardest lesson of all. The apparent harm was the loss of a child, but the hidden mercy was for his wonderful, devout parents. The teacher explains that this boy would have grown up to become a tyrant who would have burdened his parents and destroyed their faith. This act was a painful, unseen mercy, a divine intervention to protect their hearts from a future of just unimaginable pain. And what about that repaired wall? Well, the outward appearance was unrewarded work, but its hidden purpose was to protect a treasure that was buried underneath it, a treasure left for two orphan boys by their righteous father. The teacher's act was preserving their inheritance, a mercy rooted in the sincerity of a father who was long gone. And then, the teacher delivers the most important line of all. He says, "None of this was my own idea. It was all a divine command. A mercy from God, unfolding in ways that are just far beyond what human eyes and human judgment can see." So, what does this all mean for us, right now? Well, this story is more than just an event that happened long ago. It's a map of two different ways of knowing, two oceans of perception that every one of us has to learn how to navigate. See, Moses represents the Sharia, the sacred law, the clear principles of justice that govern the world we see. And his outrage at what he saw, it was completely right and necessary. Bakhedir represents the Hakika, the unseen reality, the hidden wisdom in God's decree that we can't always understand. The goal here isn't to pick one over the other. You don't abandon the law for some hidden reality, and you don't deny reality for the sake of the law. The path of real spiritual maturity is learning how to hold both at the same time. We are absolutely called to uphold justice in the world we can see, while holding on to a deep, profound trust in God's wisdom in the world we cannot. You know, this ancient story speaks so directly to us today, to our modern, restless souls, to our addiction to having an immediate explanation for everything, our intolerance for any kind of delay, and that deep anxiety we feel when we don't get the full story right away. So what can we really take away for our own hearts? Maybe that sometimes what feels like a devastating loss is actually a form of protection, that our own sincere, righteous efforts can become a shield for people who come after us. And maybe, most importantly, that patience. Patience is the absolute price of entry for any kind of deeper wisdom. You are not meant to understand the entire story while you're still living in the middle of a chapter. And that really leaves us with this final question to reflect on. In those moments of confusion, loss, or pain, when life just does not make sense at all, can you hold on to your faith even when you don't have coherence? This story is just such a beautiful reminder that our vision is so limited, but God's mercy is infinite. We see a single frame, He sees the entire film. It teaches the heart to whisper, "I don't understand, but I trust." O Allah, knower beyond all our knowing, please teach us the patience of unfolding. Grant us trust when we cannot see the wisdom, and grant us peace in whatever you decree. Amin. This explainer was compiled with gratitude by Mir Ali Shah, a seeker sharing reflections on living the wisdom of the Quran. We ask for acceptance and forgiveness for any errors in this presentation, including any AI-related mispronunciations. Thank you so much for joining us.